Yeah.
Hey, Dan,
YOLO.
it's a new week and a new show.
New state.
Oh, dude, we're finally in Florida. What's the nickname for Florida? This Florida state? The
The
Sunshine State?
Sunshine State.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know what the fucking capital of Florida is.
I think it might be Fort Myers, maybe?
No, Tampa.
No.
I see our guest already shaking her head. Tampa,
St.
Miami,
Pete.
Jacksonville. No, man, we're so
we
fucking
botched
idiot.
Oh, well. Well,
We'll
we
have
both
to
got
ask
it
when we
wrong.
get around. But are you ready to start the show?
I'm ready, Bo. Hit it.
All right, let's do it.
Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast with your host, Brett Bovin. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
We're in Florida, and I don't mean to jump it off into a new segment, but not this new segment, but I want to leap into this segment real quick because I read this news article and
News around the world.
What do you
so I
got?
saw this Fox News alert. Okay, a man has been arrested on murder charges in the death of a pregnant Amish woman in her Pennsylvania home on Monday. How fucking sad is that, man?
For whatever reason, some people despise and hate the Amish. I thought everybody loved the Amish, but I've met several people that can't stand them.
And you know what's weird?
Was the man who did it say the man who killed her? Has he been arrested yet?
Looks like he's been charged with criminal homicide,
Was he
of an
Amish?
unborn child, burglary, and criminal trespass. Pennsylvania State Police announced Saturday morning after what they said was an exhaustive 5-day investigation.
I wonder if the dude was Amish.
Could be. I haven't read much.
He probably was, because if it wasn't, they probably would have jammed him with a hate crime.
It doesn't say the relationship he had with the victim. It did say that he was married to a nurse named Jamie. Why that matters, I have no freaking idea. But
yeah, sounds like typical news article for a homicide, though.
Further down the article, the victim's children, aged 2 and 3, were in the home when their mother was killed and were not harmed in any way.
Yeah. So it was a crime of passion then.
Yeah.
Somebody that just wanted to kill her. Amish have drama too, man. They've got bad relationships and feuds and stuff just like everybody else.
You gotta love the drama, man.
But they're not as confrontational as everybody else. They seem pretty mild-mannered, and they tend to keep to themselves, at least the Amish that I've met. But
yeah, and I lived here in Southwest Michigan my entire life. Didn't realize there was an Amish community right down the road from my house. Didn't know that. Right here where we live.
Oh yeah, there's a lot down in like Calhoun County, and the closer you get to Indiana, Sturgis, Michigan has quite a bit of Amish down there.
Well, enough with the sad news. I mean, that's just sad. Yep. Anyways, we are now in Florida, kicking things off in a major way. When I first invited this guest on the show, I was looking at the stuff that she was involved in. I was like, how the fuck does she find time to do anything? She is just busy. She's involved in a lot of things, man.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping to learn from her, because she's definitely can teach me a lesson in the woods. That's for sure. So yeah, I'm excited to pick her brain and see if I can soak up some knowledge from her. So,
And the first question we have to ask is what the fuck the capital of Florida is, because apparently all the guesses we were saying were just completely wrong.
well, let's find out.
You let her in, I'll applause it.
All right.
Hello.
Hi, Tiffany. How you doing?
It's Tallahassee.
Tallahassee.
Yeah.
There's so many big cities in Florida.
Yeah.
And you were close with Jacksonville because apparently Jacksonville has the reputation for being the largest city by land size as far as acreage. But so I'm sure you probably heard that somewhere, whoever said Jacksonville. And so we'll give you a pass on that one.
I said Jacksonville.
Okay. We'll give you that.
Yay. I feel like a kid.
Still wrong, though.
Yeah.
I was the close. Whatever. Still. Well, Tiffany, thanks for that. Can you please share a bio about yourself before we get started into the show?
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I want to say happy birthday, Florida, since this is Florida Week. March 3rd was the birthday of when Florida became a state. March 3rd, 1845. So we've been a state for 178 years. So we have to throw that out there. Happy birthday, Florida.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is a great way to start. My bio, I do a little bit of everything. By career, I'm a registered nurse. I also own a farm. We raise Florida cracker cattle. We raise Meishan pigs. And I love to be outdoors. So I am what you would call an adult onset hunter. I started hunting 12 years ago because I was basically pregnant and had a baby on my hip for like over a decade because I have 4 children, which are all grown and out of the house now. But so I got really serious about 12 years ago. I married into a hunting family, and I have one of those great husbands who wanted me to go with him instead of it being, hey, this is just a guy's thing. Leave the old lady at home. He always wanted me to go. So I learned a lot from him. And I would venture to say that I've probably surpassed him in my passion for the outdoors now. So now it's the opposite. Around hunting season, I always see all these little memes and all this stuff talking about how I'm a hunting widow and all that stuff. And I'm like, in my house, it's the opposite. My husband's like, we're going again? When are you going to be back?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got into hunting at age 30. Well, 31. So I got into it late too. That's why I like talking to as many people as we can. So I can try to learn something from everybody.
So one thing I always forget when I get on these podcasts, because I've done a couple with them, I always forget to actually talk about the organizations that I'm involved with in the outdoors. So this time I wrote a little list so that I can try to hit on those because I can't even remember them all if I don't have a little list in front of me. But I volunteer for several different outdoors organizations. Like I said, our kiddos are grown up and the grandbabies aren't old enough to take yet. They're almost there. So I'm kind of filling this space in by mentoring as much as possible. When I got into the outdoors, one thing that was obvious to me was that I usually was the only woman at hunting camp. I was usually the only woman in the duck blind. And I kind of started asking a few questions. And some of the guys were like, yeah, I just don't like to bring my old lady. But some of them were just like, she doesn't want to come. She feels intimidated. She doesn't know what to do. And I thought, what if I could reach out to women and help them bridge that gap where they feel more comfortable being out in the woods? And so that's really what my goal is to make it less intimidating. I feel like women in the outdoors is definitely a fast growing demographic, but it's still really daunting because you either have men who don't think women should be here, or unfortunately, you have catty groups of women that also don't make women feel included. So I'm decided we're just going to do away with both of those, and we're just going to build the longest table we can and make everybody feel welcome in the outdoors. So
what's it been like, kind of that what was that word you used? You just said it too, man. I'm drawing up. I just heard it. Intimidated.
Yeah.
How has it been like trying to bridge that gap for women into feeling comfortable
Yeah.
in the world?
So, as an added, as you can see, I'm Filipino American, and so that kind of even puts me in a little more of a gap as far as the minorities that are in the outdoors. And for me, it was not that difficult because my husband offered so much opportunity for me to learn. And once I could kind of hold my own, what I found was you just go and you just do your thing and you don't have to say anything. People notice that you're doing your thing and you are committed and you're dedicated and you're kicking butt out there. And that kind of speaks for itself. So that's kind of what I really encourage other women to do. Like study, learn, get out there, practice, go with women, and then just go hold your own. Just do your thing. You don't have to talk about it. You don't have to make a big fuss about it. Just get out there and do it. Because really, for me, it comes back to food anyways. And I'm a grocery shopper. 90% of the meat that we consume, we hunt, fish, or raise. So it's a big deal to me. We had boys that were playing football and wrestling and doing weightlifting. So that was a lot of protein and food that we were shoveling out each week. And we've definitely scaled back some. I'm having a really hard time cooking smaller meals.
Yeah, because you're used to
Yeah.
cooking for an army.
Yes. So, but now what I find is that some of the hunts that I've held recently, I would get a mostly male interest, and then I'm seeing that even though they don't say it's the reason, and I totally understand because I've tried to imagine how I would feel, but I think then I'm on the other side where maybe new hunters who happen to be men that want to come to these hunts that I've organized. Then when their wife or their girlfriend finds out that it's being organized by a woman, then it's like, I don't really want you to go. And I see people kind of falling off. So now I'm dealing with that too. And like I said, I totally get it because I imagine how I would feel. And people don't know me, so they don't know that I really do just care about
Right.
getting to the outdoors. Like there's,
Yeah.
But other than that, this is a great time for women in the outdoors. I mean, just in the 5 years, just in the last 5 years, even just camo and gear has grown leaps and bounds. Prior to 5 years ago, I was having to buy youth boys camo or wear my husband's stuff that was too big because there was just zero out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really cool to see all of the gear and all of the camo that has come out for women that actually fit us, that is not pink. And I'm not bashing you if you like pink. I just don't. I sorely dislike pink.
Yeah.
And it's just nice that everything's not pink.
Right.
Yeah, and that you don't stand out, that you feel like you're getting the same quality products as every other hunter.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Have there been like major brands coming out of having their own clothing line just for women, like Under Armour and stuff like that?
Yes. So one of my favorites right now is a brand called Ditale, Ditale. And I just love the woman behind it. Of course, now because I'm sitting here, I can't remember her name because I'm on the spot. So I'm going to look her up while I'm talking about it.
That's fine.
But they really so down to earth and really ask the right questions. And so that's a great brand. And I just really, since I know the owner and founder of the company personally, there's a little bit different vibe there because I love down to earth, good companies with good customer service that really care about their customers. And then there's a couple other ones. I know I had demoed some pants from Prois, Prois this year. I was pretty impressed with their field pant, the way they held up against brush, because I'm a walking hunter. I walk miles. I want to get way out in the middle of nowhere. I'm in Florida, so if we have nothing, we have briars. That's the majority of what we have, and so it's pretty tough because we have what we call cat claw vines, and I mean we just have briars with like inch-long vines with like inch-long briars on them everywhere. I mean it's just a tangled mess. If you want to get out there far back away from everybody, so it takes a pretty tough gear to hold up in that kind of environment. So.
How long has they been open now?
Who, Detale?
Yes.
They have been around. Let me see if I can find out. They're a Texas company. Why can I not think straight? I know. Here, let me look at my text messages because I feel horrible. This is one of those things.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Oh, no.
Make sure.
We're laid back.
I can't believe my brain just went like that.
It's 8:30 or 8:45. So
in my defense, when the sun goes down, I go to bed. So I get up really early. So yeah, it's Raylene. Raylene is her name. And she just does a really good job of actually listening to women. And Prois is another company. They're coming out with new gear so fast that I can't even keep up. They just have, as far as sheer number of items, Prois has so much to offer women right now. Maybe not as custom of a fit as the Detale pants I'm thinking of specifically. Like they want just one solid single pair of pants. It has several different button options so you can fit the waist differently. It has a length option so you can make them shorter or longer. So just some really cool things for women out there.
What's the average climate like for your hunting season?
Hot and humid.
Okay.
Hot and humid. So in archery season, which is our first season of the year, usually starts in July, and we're hitting the dog days of summer. So we're talking about 99, 100% humidity. We're talking about 99 to 102 degrees. There was one day last year that the real feel was 116, I believe. It's just hot. I mean, you are sweating your absolute tail off. And we don't get much for cold. We get like 1 or 2 winter days a year. Every once in a while, we might get 5 total. So I can tell you from experience that the deer still rut, whether it's cold or not. So.
Yep.
Did I hear that correctly? Your archery season starts in July?
Yes. So, nope, hold on. That's down south. So Florida is interesting. We have so many different seasons. We're not like most states where you have like 1 week of this and it's all crammed into 1 month. Pretty much from July until almost March, you can hunt a deer somewhere. And you can hit a rut somewhere because we have 5 or 6 or 7 different peak ruts in the state. So if you're willing to drive 2 or 3 hours, you can pretty much hunt a rut in a different area almost every couple of weeks of the whole season. So it's insane.
What
that's
the
cool.
shit? That's mind-boggling. You get to hunt deer year-round.
Just about. And then when we do take a little break, turkey season's about to start. Then we have our turkey season, and then gator season's in August. And then the rest of the time we can hunt hogs on private land, unlimited, day, night, 365 with lights. You could hunt them with a bazooka if you wanted to.
What?
Just whatever you can do to eradicate them.
That's cool. That sounds pretty fun.
Yeah.
Sounds like a pretty good state to live in.
Yeah. I mean, our opportunity to hunt is awesome. Florida notoriously had a reputation for having small deer in the past, but the Florida Wildlife Commission has done a really good job of managing the deer, and the deer are growing exponentially each year. So they're doing a great job.
Do you happen to recall? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but at one point the deer were completely eradicated from Florida. The cattle industry, there was a thought that the deer were passing disease. And so basically the cattle industry was kind of given the responsibility that if you see it, shoot it. And so Florida had gotten to the point where the deer were all but extinct. So then they had to pull deer in from other states and try to repopulate. So some people speculate that that's why we have such a crazy, very long season to hunt, and why there are so many peak ruts. There are some people that say that the deer that came in, they brought in their peak rut, and the does passed their rut down to each one of their daughter. Their peak estrus down to each one of their daughters, and then there are other biologists that say no, that's not true. It's just because of our temperature and the length of days, and so either way, it's still cool. We have a long season.
Now, did that kind of start? Oh, I'm sorry, Dan.
I was just gonna say, when the conservation started getting involved in managing the deer population,
Mm-hmm.
do you happen to remember if there were any changes to like the tags?
We used to be able to hunt more does. So we can only take 2 does a year. We can take 5 deer total, and 2 can be does. Or excuse me, antlerless, because we can take anything that's antlerless, 2 of those. I do recall, and I'm going to botch the numbers, but we were able to hunt more does before. So they're working on managing those, and judging from the size of the deer that have been taken in the last few years, it seems to be working. So
that's awesome. I love seeing when those changes pay off. I'm hoping that our state implements more change. Definitely, because I'd like to see improvements in our conservation here in Michigan.
There's so many things that need to be fixed, and they're not going to do it. I'm already saying that now.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Florida's in a battle for the survival of old Florida right now, because we have so many people moving here. At one point, I believe this was about 4 to 6 months ago, we had, I believe the number was 100 people a day moving here. And that stayed true pretty much right after the pandemic, because Florida never closed.
Yeah, I was about to say.
We just never stopped. I think our kids were out of school for like a few weeks or maybe a month or so, and then we just went back to business as usual. So we started having this massive influx of people, even more so than we had before. And it's still so many people moving to Florida. So it's definitely kind of scary to see how quickly the wildlands are disappearing. So
that is a good point, because I remember watching the like the presidential debates back when the election happened 4 years ago. It seems like now that a lot of people were moving to Florida because Florida stayed open.
Right.
So then that's a good point, because then I got to ask, what's it been like on the ecosystem? Because a lot of these people that had been moving there to Florida, from what I was seeing and reading, was a lot of them were moving from like California, a lot of the blue states, to Florida. So what's it been like with all them moving there on the hunting community?
Yeah. So it's been interesting. Our state, compared to some, has seemed very favorable towards hunting in the outdoors industry. I definitely don't feel like we're I don't feel like we're looked down upon or anything like that. But hunters and anglers are definitely the minority for sure. When you look at the statistics, the actual numbers, there's actually a very, very small amount of people that are actually anti-hunting and angling. And the largest number are just the non-hunters. And of course, we want them to stay that way or come and join us. We don't want them to end up being anti. But, Florida has, I believe the most recent number was something like 6 billion acres of public land. So compared to the size of our state, we have a massive amount of public land. But I will say that our public land is different than public land in other states. My husband and I went out to Nevada to hunt some ducks when was that? I guess it was around Christmas. And the concept of BLM land, where you are just driving for an hour and you can just look out and say, hey, I just want to go see what's on that mountain. And you can just go and you can just build a fire and you can just camp anywhere you want to. Nuts to me, because it's definitely not like that in Florida. There is a lot of public land in Florida, but a lot of it is quota. And they have specific dates, like you can't even go in and scout until this day. And so it's much more, you can't just wander in and explore like you can out there. So I was definitely, my mind was blown by the differences. You know, you hear the word public land and it does not mean the same thing to everyone.
Right.
So that was one thing that was different. But other than that, you know, the Amendment 2 made it to the ballot, the right to hunt and fish in Florida, to make it an actual right on the books. And I definitely saw some pushback as I was spreading the word and educating about that amendment, that it's not changing anything. It doesn't mean that now hunters and anglers are going to go out and just start obliterating everything. That all it does is just make sure that that right is secured for future generations.
Future generations,
Yeah,
yep.
what we're doing already. But I definitely saw some, and obviously I'm not going to name them because, you know, I'm not going to bash anybody, but I definitely saw some organizations that I thought were supportive to hunters and anglers that all of a sudden were like, nope, we're staying neutral on this. And I was like, huh?
Really?
So
Probably because guns were attached to it.
right.
And that's one of those like deal breakers for some people, or
And
people don't want to get involved.
right. And another very large component of that mindset is still the mindset that hunting and angling is not conservation, that somehow they are opposed. I didn't realize that these outdoors organizations actually carried that mindset. But it was very obvious that there's still this misconception that you can't be a hunter and an angler and consume wild game protein, and also be a conservationist and an animal lover. So that for some reason, people think those are opposite sides of the coin, which they are absolutely not.
No.
How does that make?
No.
I still don't make. How does that make sense?
People say that because they're like, how could you respect and love an animal if you're shooting it? Like, if you're taking its life, how the hell do you care about it?
Right.
Right.
But we know how we feel, and you know, the satisfaction that we get in bringing home quality protein to our family, and just how much work you had to put in to get that animal. You know, it's not like how they slaughter a cow.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's totally different too. You know, being a farmer who raises animals for meat also, even that, there are different calibers, there are different ways of doing things. And, you know, our farm, I put out a post on LinkedIn talking about one of the pigs that I had butchered this year to put in the freezer. And I started off by saying, you know, I knew he was being raised for the freezer, but he never did. And I kind of explained, because especially for women, if you think that it's difficult to be a male and be a hunter and supposedly a conservationist, try being a woman.
Yeah.
For some reason, a woman who can take the life of an animal is evil, more so than a man ever thought about being, because there's this belief that somehow being able to rely on animals as a protein source means that you are denying your most innate nature of nurturing and caring for and raising up. And so that is a really hot topic for me, because I try to explain to people how you absolutely have to be an animal lover to raise animals. And that as a farmer, as an outdoors woman, as a hunter, as an angler, I choose to carry the tension and any discomfort, so that that animal, while maintaining balance in the ecosystem, while providing food for my family, that I choose to take what I call the unlovely parts onto myself so that the animal doesn't have to. The animal doesn't know anything. I always say, they have one bad day, and if I do that right, they won't even know that. So that's the goal, is trying to educate that you must be an animal lover and a conservationist to be a good outdoorsman. And you absolutely better be an animal lover if you're going to raise animals to use as a protein source. So
It makes sense.
yeah.
So what all animals do you raise on your farm?
So we have Florida cracker cattle. We have Meishan pigs, bourbon red turkeys. I like to focus on animals that are on the critically endangered livestock list. But we also have ducks and chickens and goats and
Oh, so, yeah.
all of that.
That's what my
So,
wife wants to get.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Goat.
I know. So
Goats are
yes,
cool.
we raise all those. Meishan pigs are a really interesting pig because some people will say they're more of a lard pig, but for a small farm and for a pig that is more manageable for people who don't have a lot of land, it's an excellent choice because they don't destroy fences and they're just more of a quiet, more docile pig. And the meat, when you raise them correctly and you pasture them, and their meat is more of a red meat, and it has a very low, the fat has a really low melting point, and you've never tasted anything like it. It is just amazing. It is truly a delicacy. So one of my favorite things to do is to raise a couple of pigs just to mix in with my venison. And it's like, it's perfect.
Oh,
It is
that's
perfect.
awesome.
Yeah.
How big the pig that you harvested this year?
Mm-hmm.
How big did he get?
He was a little more lean. So he was probably about 250.
Oh,
If you confine them more, they get be about 350, even 400.
damn.
Because they were pastured, they were a little more lean than your typical, because I didn't throw a bunch of food at them. I just let them go out there. Matter of fact, I was thinking about this the other day. I was planting all my potatoes, and I was planting in a plot of land that's kind of like fresh land for the garden. And it's where we had the 2 pigs that I butchered this year to grind in with our venison. And I was just thinking about the whole cycle. Like, they went out there, ate the vines, got it all cleared up for me, fertilized it. And, now I'm going to go in and grow these potatoes, and then I'm going to cook these potatoes. And it's just going to be just really neat.
That's cool though. I mean, whenever you put that much thought into it, it sounds like your plan is coming together perfectly. I mean, that sounds like a tasty meal for sure.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. It's taken several years, and you have to do it just a little at a time. But, it's definitely reassuring to be at the place where no matter what happens in the grocery store, we're good. I mean, we could fell some trees across the dirt road and just handle it.
So you primarily hunt with your bow then?
I just got a new bow last year. So before that, I got a Hoyt Eclipse. I have been waiting. I'm not one to go and buy all the brand new stuff, and I've waited a long time for that. So I hunt with everything, but my favorite is archery. My favorite is bow hunting, just because it is so maddening. It is so unforgiving, and you can't. If you can't go, I mean, I also, when I am shooting with a rifle, I have a 300 Winchester short mag. So, I mean, I cannot pick that up for 18 months and go out there and it's going to take up the slack. That's not how archery is. You have to stay on your A game. It's so much more intimate. You have to get so close. There's just so much more. There's so many more details. There's so much more skill that goes into it. And I get such a thrill out of just getting close to the animals and fooling their nose. I tell people all the time, when you're trying to become more knowledgeable in hunting in the outdoors, every single animal that crosses your path, practice getting into a shooting position, even if you have no desire to take that animal. See if you can fool them. See if you can conceal your movement. Like, just practice. And there's such a thrill in that, in knowing that this animal, who every sense that they possess is honed in on survival and finding you and avoiding you. And if I can get within range, that's a trophy for me. I mean, I just feel like that's pretty awesome.
I agree.
Dan, before I cut, I've never done this on the show, but because this is the first time a point like that's been made so perfectly, it deserves a round of applause. That's the first for the show. Man,
Yeah.
those are the exact same reasons why I love shooting with a bow.
Yeah.
And you're right. You have to get so close to an animal, and so many things can go wrong
Yes.
with your rest, your arrows. So many small little details
Oh, yeah.
can go wrong.
One
And
of the
that's
big
determined.
sorry, go ahead. I thought you were done.
Oh no! Don't you cut me off ever again, Dan. Don't make me go on a sidebar with you. No, but yeah, and you said it perfectly, and that's because you have to basically be shooting almost every day.
Mhm.
You can't just put your bow down and then 4 months, 5 months later, you're like, all right, it's hunting season. Let's go back out there and shoot. No, so many things. Your sight could got moved and knocked off, and now you're missing your shots.
Yeah.
You can put your gun down for almost 12 months
Oh, yeah.
and pick it up. And all right, it still shoots. It's great.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I love that point. I had to give it a round of applause. And so, yeah.
Thank you.
One of the big obstacles for me that I overlooked when I got into hunting was height.
Mm.
I primarily hunt from a tree stand,
Yeah.
and the first time I stood up,
The
like
angle.
I went right back down, like because I was uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until like that's when I knew I needed to get a harness, because my first sit I didn't have one. I didn't even know that you needed it. And
No.
then as soon as I stood up to try to shoot a deer, I sat right back down,
Oh, yeah.
because I was like, how the hell am I going to pull my bow back and not fall out of this tree?
Oh, yeah.
And like, I was surprised at how much you could feel the wind
Oh, yeah.
shifting those trees.
Yeah.
And like that's a pucker factor that makes me really like it. And the drive to get a deer made me essentially overcome a fear of heights.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I mean, not like a phobia, but
Mhm.
extremely uncomfortable when I get over 6 feet.
Yeah.
So like I've come a long way, and if I never got into hunting, I don't think I would have.
Yeah.
So the things that we do for these deer.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing about being in the outdoors is I mean, you are the limit. You are. And no matter what, it really comes down to, are you willing to push it a little further to make it happen? And at the end of the day, you only have yourself to blame if it goes wrong. I mean, it's just you against, but also in tandem with the outdoors. And it's such a tension, because you do feel like on one hand that it's like this foe, this admirable foe. But then again, at the same time, in order to be effective, you also have to be in rhythm and cadence. So it's such an odd tension where you're kind of holding this line between loving it and hating it, and between learning these little things that just help you just mesh in even more. And then also in moments, just in a moment, the outdoors can just completely expose you and make you feel like an idiot. And so many days I walked in the house and be like, that's it, I'm not hunting anymore. And of course, by the time the weekend comes, I'm like, I got to get back out there. But yeah, that's just it. It's just so challenging.
Yeah.
Going back to when you said that you really made the deep dive and that you knew that you were all about it,
Mhm.
outside of the mentorship that you got from your husband,
Mhm.
what were your primary sources when you said that you were studying
Yeah.
and that you were hunting?
Back in the day, we had these things called magazines.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, but I bought a lot of magazines. I studied up on a lot of magazines. And then when the internet really became a thing, I just consumed as much information as possible. And then I just went out there and felt stupid and felt like I was bumbling most of the time. And at the beginning, I mean, I can't remember how long I went before I even saw an animal. The first animal I ever harvested was a turkey with my husband. And that's what sealed the deal for me. When that gobbler came just drumming and I could feel it in my chest, I still to this day, it gives me chills. And at that moment I was like, this is insane. And, I know from having chickens and things like that, I know how birds are and how good their sight is. And just the concept of getting this bird in close enough so that a shotgun will reach out and touch him. It was thrilling. I was just completely obsessed from there on. My goal this year is to try to take a turkey with my bow because I haven't done that. So we're going to see what happens.
Well, best of luck.
Yeah.
That's something that Brett wants to do as well.
Heck yeah, it is.
Yes.
We've never turkey hunted.
No.
Oh, man.
And we've had a lot of guests on lately that they love to turkey hunt. And I've always brought it to them. It's like, something I wanted to do, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it with a bow. I don't care how much it defeats me. I'm going to fucking do it with my bow.
Yeah. Turkey hunting is, maybe I'm partial because that's where I started, but they're just really smart birds. And, they can see they can see you blink your eye, they're just so in tune. And I love it because it's my favorite time of year. Spring is my favorite time of year. So I'm out when the world is just waking up from our winter, which is not a real winter. So things start turning green and growing again. And I love turkey hunting because for the most part, if they're there or not. Like you go out there and you're not, I still have pulled some all days where I just sit at the base of a tree and just see, because maybe one's gone silent. But for the most part, it's a whole different thing. I don't know. It's just neat.
I did see, though, on your profile, you're a Florida alligator trapping agent.
Yeah, contracted nuisance alligator trapper, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you dive into that a little bit?
Well, we kind of fell into that accidentally because I can tell you that becoming a nuisance alligator trapper in the state of Florida is about like securing a Supreme Court seat. Like you have to wait for somebody to die.
Really?
So we just happened to luck out that the other two trappers that typically covered our area both had health issues at the same time. And I'm like, that was horrible. I didn't mean lucked out. That was terrible. Sounds like I'm happy that they were ill.
No, I know what you meant.
We get what you meant. Yeah.
It wasn't insensitive.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had reached out. So they told us, we need some help. So my husband and I both applied and we both got in. And I've hunted alligator before. I love to hunt alligator, but taking an alligator alive, it is the most primal form. I'm a small girl and you work and work on this alligator until he's exhausted. And that's your goal, is to get him tired where he is just completely gassed. But that it doesn't take too long before he's going to catch a second breath and you're done. So then that's when the clock starts ticking. And, you cover their eyes, you jump on their back, you wrap tape around their jaws. Yep. And the whole time he breathes in and your whole body lifts and you realize I'm literally nothing on this alligator. And then you hear him growl, he lets it out. It's just, there's nothing like it. It is primal is the only word for it. It's amazing.
Have you had any close encounters? Like
we've had them lash up and bite the boat and put some nasty teeth marks in the boat. There was one that this was when I was actually hunting on one of my tags, but one of the places we like to hunt, there's this aquatic vegetation called hydrilla. And there's a lot of hydrilla in Florida. And it's just like these thick, wispy, slimy mats. And you literally will have these entire islands of hydrilla floating around the lake. So the whole topography of the lake changes depending on where these floating mats move. And of course, these alligators know, hey, I'm going for the mat. So a lot of times you end up right in the mat. So there was one that we had been hunting, and we were basically just pulling and clearing hydrilla and pulling and clearing hydrilla because we had gotten the harpoon in. And you have no clue when there's actually going to be an alligator that's going to present itself. So you're just pulling, and then all of a sudden your hand brushes the scales, and that feeling that, okay, they are right there, and I don't know which part of them is right there. It could be his tail, it could be his nose. It's so far nothing's beat that so far.
It feels like touching a dinosaur.
Absolutely. It absolutely feels like a dinosaur. There's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
With it being nuisance trapping, are you trapping these like in residential areas or?
Yes, because I can tell you in Florida, the country people don't call the trappers.
Okay.
It's always the residential areas, the more urban type areas, and typically it's also the people that weren't born here. What we see a lot of
Michiganders.
What we see a lot of is cute little baby gator that's in the retention pond behind the apartment complex or in the neighborhood, and everybody thinks it's so cute and they're feeding it scraps. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, he gets big. And because he has no healthy fear of humans, he's now eyeing the dogs and the children, and now he's a nuisance, when really, who's really the nuisance here?
Yeah, right. The Michiganders.
I have a really mixed, so the majority of them, we're encroaching on them. And, unfortunately, in so many areas in Florida, there's this crazy trend where these developers go in and find swampland and go, let's fill this in with dirt and build a city here. And are shocked when alligators are holed up in whatever body of water they can find, and then also are equally shocked when a bad hurricane comes along and everything reverts back to the way it was before and everything's flooding. So that's a whole nother soapbox for a different day.
Are you like in the northern part of Florida?
I'm up near Gainesville.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, wait. Florida University, Gainesville?
Yeah. I'm about 35 minutes north. Well, about 35 minutes outside of Gainesville, in a little town called Hawthorne, which I think at one point was maybe like the bass capital of the state at one point, but lots of lakes. We have there's water everywhere.
Huh.
Have you ever fished Okeechobee?
No, I haven't fished Okeechobee. I've been down there a lot, but I've gone down there to duck hunt. We have some friends. A good friend of ours, Travis Thompson, he has an organization called All Florida, which is a just probably one of the, to me, from what I've seen, it's the organization that's doing one of the most for conservation in Florida. But he and another of our friends, Matt Pierce has P1 Cattle Company, and they hold some duck hunts on the flooded cow pasture down there. And it's cool because you can actually take your dog and work them and not be afraid that the alligators are going to eat them, which is the case in most of the places in Florida.
Okay.
So I've duck hunted down there, but I have not done much fishing down there. So
that's a lake on my list.
Yeah.
I'd like to fish it at least once in my life.
Yeah, I was supposed to go gator hunt there, actually, with Artemis, one of the organizations that Artemis Sportswomen is under the umbrella of the National Wildlife Federation. And so we have 4 ambassadors in the state of Florida, and I'm one of the ambassadors. And so we actually had held a gator hunt down there. And unfortunately, because of things with work, I wasn't able to be there for that. But the ladies were successful. They tagged a few of them, so it was pretty cool.
But you got some good bass fishing.
We have some great
right?
bass fishing. Oh, yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, hopefully, this weekend is youth turkey season in our area, and I'll be volunteer guiding with National Wild Turkey Federation. So hopefully my youth hunter will bag a turkey. But after that, I'm hoping to get out on the water and maybe catch a few bass. So
yeah, good time of year to get a big pregnant female.
Oh yeah, yeah. So we have this thing in Florida that when the azaleas start blooming, that's kind of the signal that the bass are on the bed. So it's happening. The azaleas are just hitting that full bloom. So it's exciting.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we're getting close to where we could probably start doing a little bit of fishing here. Maybe it'd be a miserable day, but your chances of getting your best fish are high.
Yeah, it was 81 degrees today here.
We had like
We had
70. Yeah, we had 70, which is
Wow. Okay.
we'll take it.
Yeah,
Yeah. A
really
little
weird
windy,
for this
but
time
not
of
too
year.
bad.
that's a good day.
Yep. So with you, how many years have you been doing archery?
So I have been doing archery. Let's see. I am now. I want to say at this point I'm going into my 7th or 8th year, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in your experience with hunting with your bow, what's your favorite harvest with your bow besides the turkey? Or no, the turkey you haven't done yet.
That will be my favorite. My favorite harvest with my bow. You know, what's interesting is I can easily pinpoint my favorite harvest with a gun. I can easily pinpoint my favorite duck hunt. I can easily pinpoint my favorite alligator hunt. But with archery, because all of it is so challenging, every doe this year, well, let me take this back. So up until this year, I'd only harvested does with my bow. So this year was my first year of harvesting a buck with my bow. But still,
Congrats.
yeah. Thank you. But still, every single one of them was so memorable because it's so nerve-wracking the whole time, no matter what. For me, it is just because I know how unforgiving it is. And so you're just trying so hard to relax, but you're trying to really mind your P's and Q's and make sure you get all the details right. And don't get so excited that you don't see that little teeny vine across there. Like all the things that you just don't have to deal with when you're hunting with a firearm. And so that being said, the buck was great, but also not. So I'm going to tell you the story on him. He came in when I had about 12 minutes of legal hunting light left. But I was down in the swamp. I typically hunt in the swamp. And so it was darker. So all these things after the fact, you're like, maybe I should have done this. Maybe I should have done that. Thinking back, and once I had gone back and looked at the video, honestly, it was probably a little too dark to really judge, even though it was legal shooting light. I have my own personal rule that I only will shoot either perfectly broadside or quartered away. He was slightly quartered too. Like it's just my own little rules, you know? I thought that he was standing by the 10-yard tree that I had ranged. But because of the low light and me having not the greatest depth perception in darkness, he ended up being closer to like 18, 19 yards. So many things went wrong. And what I ended up doing is I ended up clipping his left lung and going through his gut and hitting the inside of his right hip.
Oh.
And so I did not recover him until almost 3 months later.
Oh.
And I looked. I mean, that day alone, I looked until 4:00 in the morning. The dogs couldn't find him either. And come to find out, it's because we were so dead set that he had gone into the swamp, and we were just out in the swamp. We were so focused on the swamp when really he was so old and smart. He literally had circled back, and we had walked within just a few yards of him, headed out to the swamp every time we went to look for him. And that's not where he was. And I broke my own rule when I found the first blood. It was so much. And I was like, oh yeah, I got him. So I started tracking him, even though my number one rule is just back out and wait, at least wait a few hours, just back out. I'm like, oh no, I got him good. I bumped him. And if I'd have left him where he was 100 yards from my back door, and that's where he would have died. So just so many things. And, it made me think about it, because if I had recovered him that night, I wouldn't have thought twice about those mistakes I made. But because I didn't recover him, for those 3 months, he haunted me. I mean, you can ask my husband. It was ridiculous. Like, I was so heartbroken. I was so obsessed. I talked about it every day, about what I should have done, and this and that, and this happened, and probably drove my husband crazy about this deer. And thankfully, I had closure when I found him. But you better believe I will not make any of those mistakes. I'll make different ones probably. I know I will, but I will never make those exact mistakes ever again.
Right. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's archery hunting. I've been doing this for 17 years, and it's a bad feeling having to feel like you missed it, and then you're just tracking and tracking. And there's times where I've kicked him up. It's like, dang it. I always tell myself, my dad told me, at least no matter what, we wait a minimum of 2 hours.
Yeah, I
And
know. That's my rule too.
yeah, and sometimes you just get so
I'm just so confident. I'm just so confident in I was just so amped because you could have seen the way he came in there. I mean, and that's my thing too. I try to explain to people there are so many animals that I never even so much as reach for the release or the trigger for. I just watch them. And for me, it just, I don't know. It's like, when you're supposed to take that one.
Yeah.
And you just feel it. You're like, this one's for me. And when just seeing the way the other deer that were in there responded when he was headed in, and then just to see the way he came walking in there. I mean, he was just the boss. My knees were knocking. It was just, that part was pretty memorable, but it was obviously memorable because I lost sleep for 3 months until I recovered him, and still sick about it. But I knew he was dead that night because I could hear the coyotes. But it was so distorted because of the water. We just could not figure out exactly where the noise was coming from. And every time we thought we were walking towards the noise, we were wrong. But I obsessed over that buck for 3 straight months. So I am just thankful I recovered him, and thankful that I learned some really good lessons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. As long as you can learn from it, then
Yeah.
it'll make you a better hunter.
Yep.
That's what I keep telling myself when I keep messing up. I'm so damn green that it's a little overwhelming just seeing how much goes into it. And I tell myself, oh, I'm going to focus on this category to improve my hunting. But then I realized that there was like 10 other categories that I didn't even know about. And
you just have to do it,
Mhm.
and collectively those things will hone. All of those senses and all those skills will just hone, and you just have to do it over and over and over and over again until it just becomes like breathing. And then you'll think less about some things, and then it will open. Every time you think you've made it, then the next door opens up and there's this whole other room of stuff that you have to deal with and focus in on. So you never quit learning. And I'm thankful because I would get bored because I like, I love continuing education. I love challenge. That's what I love about the outdoors, is that you can never actually figure it out. You can figure a lot of things out. You can gather statistics and probabilities, but still at the end of the day, the outdoors is going to do whatever the outdoors wants to do and hand you your tail.
I feel like my biggest fear about hunting in Florida, we kind of touched on this earlier, was the temperature, because I feel like our bodily fluids are one of the things that deer are going to pick up on, like be able to smell. And I know if I was in pants and long sleeve, in order to safely get through all that brush, I would be a sweat factory. Like I would be dripping sweat. Like I would be so saturated that I'm sure they could smell me from a mile away.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So there's been a time or two that I've brought a change of clothes in to the tree stand or to the tree, or this year I'm actually going to take a stab at saddle hunting. So we're going to see how that goes.
Ooh.
Just because, like I said, previously I had a summit stand, and I'm 5 foot, barely 1 inch. And when I'm trudging through the woods, and it's not Florida, like when we've hunted places out west, it's crazy to me how open the woods are. in Florida, you cannot see your hand in front of your face. Like there are many places that you were literally following these little game trails, and the summit stand would catch on every vine as I went through. And I'm short, so the back of the summit stand's catching the top of my mud boots, and it's just insane. I mean, you can't be quiet. It's just nuts unless you literally move at a snail's pace, and I'm talking ridiculous. So, and I usually walk miles to get where I'm hunting. So the concept of being able to drop about 10 pounds, 10, 12 pounds of weight, and to be able to get up on trees that I previously didn't have any option, I'm really excited about that. So I'm hoping that's going to be give me a little bit of an advantage.
It sounds like it will, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you already have the skill set down. It sounds like the summit climbing was just a hurdle for you.
It was.
And now that you're getting rid of that, you're going to be more stealth-like, and you're going to be ready to whack one.
Oh yeah, I hope so. We'll see.
So I have 3 questions. I have a ton more questions though, but we're getting towards the end of the time, and I know we're gonna have to have you back on the show because this has been probably the best intellectual show we've ever freaking had here.
Oh, wow, thank you.
So 3 questions. I'm gonna kind of stagger them out. The first one is, you caught me with, you said you're near Gainesville. So are you a college football fan?
I am.
Let's hear it.
I already know the answer. I'm assuming it's Florida.
No.
Oh,
We're Bama. We're Bama fans. We're outcasts. I know. I'm sorry.
Close enough. You're close to Alabama.
What is
You're
it?
probably close to Alabama, though. I mean,
Yeah, but my oldest son, it's actually his fault because we never had much of a care for college football. And when my oldest son was 9 and he started getting interested and wanting to play football, he fell in love with Mark Ingram and just idolized him. So we started watching because he wanted to watch Mark Ingram. And then it just kind of grew from there. And then all of the younger siblings had to be a Bama fan because the oldest was a Bama. And so now we're just roll tide. Sorry.
no, that's cool.
then
You're just being supportive.
Yeah. So a side quick question then. How do you feel about the hire of Kalen DeBoer? Because I have my thoughts about him because I'm an Oregon Ducks fan.
Yeah. So, I'm not fair weather, and it's one of those things where I believe everybody has something to bring to the table. And I know everybody's got a past too. And it's like, I don't get real caught up in the politics of it. I just love to watch those boys play. I just love the passion that they have. And to me, even when they're having a rough year, they're still just so fun because they have such heart. I don't know. I think they'll be fine. I mean, and I'm not really up to speed on all the politics behind it. So I'm just, for me, they struggle a little bit this year. So I'm like, a little bit of a change. Maybe it'll be
a good thing.
Yeah. So
seems like college football is bigger down south than
college football is everything
yeah.
down south.
That's what we've gathered.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's an all-out religion in the South, for sure.
The second question is, what would you tell women that are like they're hesitant about getting into hunting? Is there like a program for them to like go to and be like, all right, this is what hunting is. It's like a welcoming place. Any advice that you can give?
Yep. So first, reach out to me and I will help you. So I see myself as somebody that, people can come to me and I can kind of assess. I'm also a nurse, so that's probably why this pulls into that. It's that whole triage idea.
Oh, wow.
I see where you are. I see what you need. And then I try to figure out where I can connect you that you're going to be able to thrive. So I am not, I believe we're all on the same team in the outdoors. So I'm not all, I don't believe this all, we only do this here. And we only do and only if we promote us. And, I don't feel that way. If somebody else is doing something that is going to benefit you more, then I'm going to help you connect with them. Like, I just think wherever you can thrive. But if you're a woman and you're interested in getting out in the outdoors and you are very hesitant, reach out to me and I'll find out where you are and I'll get you connected. There are several different organizations. There is Artemis is one of them. there are so many organizations popping up right now. I know in Florida we have the American Daughters of Conservation, which is the ADC. They're a great organization. There's just so many cool groups of women that are out just doing the same thing, just inviting other women to go along with them and showing them the ropes and helping them get comfortable in the outdoors. So no matter where you are, I can find you somebody. So just reach out to me.
And then my third and final question for the night, because I don't know about Dan, but what is that art thing behind you? I've been dying to ask.
So I live in the boonies and have no internet connection. So my good friend, Amy, she has a business called Whispering Dog, and she has like a marketing, and she does like websites and print and all that stuff. And she is crazy artistic and all that stuff. So this is the artwork on the wall of her office. And
oh, wow.
She's just a super cool chick. So I'm thankful. Thank you, Amy, for letting me use your office, because I would be like frozen for 5 minutes and all this stuff because I live in the boonies. It wouldn't have worked.
Well, that's a good sign that you've picked a good place to live when you can't get internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
What Dan, was there any questions that you might have?
Not really. Just I really enjoyed our conversation, and we really appreciate your time. I know that farmers definitely have to get up early to start their daily routine
in the morning for sure. But this is
So-
worth it. I love any chance I get to talk about the stuff that I'm telling you, you saw all the stuff that I'm doing. My philosophy is that when I hang this body up, it's going to be in shreds, and it's going to be worth it. So I just, anytime I get a chance to talk about the stuff I love, I mean, you saw me, I can't shut up. So it's pretty easy.
No, we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We had really good conversation.
So,
We actually, I was telling Brett the other day that we should do a ladies' week,
yeah,
and we
Yeah,
should
that's
try to
what I
have
was-
a full week of just female hunters.
that
And
would be awesome.
after meeting you today, like we really had a great time. So
Oh yeah, and I can
Yeah.
hook you up there. I've got friends all over the nation that are just, I've never been one that has a bunch of friends. I've got like the same 3 friends since high school. I don't have big friend groups, and so whenever I grab onto somebody, it's because I sense that they are just really genuine and they really care about others. Because for me, it's about people. Because if you're not about people, then you're not going to save anything, because you have to have people to save the outdoors. You have to have people to save hunting and angling. And so if you don't care about people, then you're shooting yourself in the foot, because you're not going to get anywhere. So I know other women that feel the same way, and they're just doing amazing things. So if you did that, that'd be great. I could hook you up with some ideas.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that sounds like a plan. So
Yeah.
we will definitely be in touch, and best of luck this weekend. If you can squeeze out and maybe rip a couple lips out on the lake,
There you
and best of luck for your target to harvest a turkey with your bow.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Have a good night, Tiffany. Thank you so much for the time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right.
I think that was probably the most intellectual show we've had up to date so far.
You know what I forgot to say?
What?
I forgot until just now, but she said something about the National Wild Turkey Federation. I bet she's crossed paths with Paul.
Oh, Paul, yeah.
I bet
Yeah.
she has.
I'd most likely, yeah. Yeah.
We should have asked her that, but maybe next time.
But for a conversation, man, that was just seemed someone that cares about the outdoors, and someone that's how she find time to. First off, thank you so much again, Tiffany, for taking the time to come talk to us. It sounds like she's packed every minute of every day. Being a nurse too, on top of it, as her day job. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
Very impressive.
she's very involved, and I think there needs to be a lot more. It shows to me like, man, I'm being fucking lazy, and I need to be more involved in my own community for hunting here
Yeah.
in Michigan. But Man, I can't. That's I can't wait to get her back on for that. Because I was thinking that during the show was that idea you had about it's a women's week.
Mm-hmm.
I want her as guest number 1.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're gonna have to think of something creative, something cool to do. But yeah, we got time to figure it out.
Oh yeah. Well, man, that was a fun show. I actually really, don't get me wrong, I enjoy all of our shows because it's you and I on here, but this was
that one was a
very,
little different.
yeah,
The conversations were not the general topics that we normally talk about, but it all tied into hunting still. So
exactly.
that's
Yeah.
why I think we both enjoyed it so much.
Yeah. Well, I did. So people don't have to stare at us at our ugly faces while we end the show. Timing it at the end of the little video that I made and the ending of the stream thing might be a little questionable, but
Yeah, I'm sure you'll find a way to.
I'll find a way to fuck it up because I can't find a way to fucking do the bleeping on time. So
Well, we'll see, man. Give it your best.
let's do it.
All right, man.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.